Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are here with Austin from Ohio, and today is Thursday, June 17th, 2021. This video was going to go a different route today. I was going to actually do a video on the second installment of Sheeple Comments, featuring the Q movement and the Q consciousness, as they would like to call it. But when I went to pull it up just a little bit ago, because I had the link to the video saved to where I could read all the comments, and the video was removed by the uploader between last night and today. So I am sorry to report that I will not be doing that. Maybe it's for a good reason. You guys probably would not want to hear that anyway, because it was just not very good at all. These people were talking about how they're speaking Trump's return into existence, and how God is bringing Trump back to the forefront, and how he never conceded, and all this stuff. And I was getting very agitated yesterday as I was reading these comments, that I was going to do the video yesterday, but I ended up having to run a few errands and do all that. And I was like, the video's been up for a while, I'll just do it tomorrow. And then what happened today happened today. I'm hoping that this recording will go as planned, and we will not have a repeat of what happened the other day when I try to read something and the recording stops, because I will be very upset. Let's get into it. This first one was from yesterday. Many U.S. cities are starting to resemble post-apocalyptic cesspools as America's collapse accelerates. And this is authored by Michael Snyder via the Economic Collapse blog. For a moment, I would like you to take an imaginary tour of a major U.S. city with me, and I would like for you to try to guess which city I am talking about. As you stroll along the sidewalks in the heart of this city, seems like tents have been erected everywhere. Homelessness is completely and utterly out of control in this particular city, and even though city officials keep making more promises, the crisis just continues to get worse. As you continue your tour, you notice multiple addicts doing drugs right in front of you. Drug needles, human waste, and other trash are strewn all over the place, and you wonder why nobody from the city has cleaned up the mess. All of this filth has created a stench that is overpowering at times, and you try not to gag. As you travel deeper into the urban core of this city, you are shocked to see two men with guns carjack a woman a couple blocks away. Not wanting you to get involved, you abruptly change direction. You are startled when a couple of addicts that look like they were pulled straight out of a zombie movie start asking you for money, when you begin instinctively walking faster without even thinking about it. Unfortunately, you stumbled into an alley that you should never have gone down, and you find yourself completely surrounded by curious street people. You try to make a break for it, but it is too late. I'll stop our imaginary tour right there. Can you guess which major U.S. city I am talking about? Ooh, let's actually play, because I have not read this article yet, and I usually don't do that, but I just pulled it up based on the title. I'm going to guess... I am going to guess Los Angeles. My first guess was San Francisco, though, so I might want to go with that one. Let's see. Sadly, the reality of the matter is that there are many U.S. cities that closely fit the description that I just gave you. For example, Los Angeles was one of the most beautiful cities on the entire planet, but today is being described as a squalid cesspool. And it goes on, the Democrat-controlled city of Los Angeles has devolved into a squalid cesspool of rampant crime, uncontrolled homelessness, and filthy streets littered with trash, drug paraphernalia, and human waste. That's the observation of numerous Californians, including award-winning actor James Woods, who lamented on Monday that the picturesque city he once loved is gone. And it's not just Los Angeles, and it's not just Democrat-controlled cities. Pretty much all cities are pretty much like this now. Google trash on the streets of New York, Chicago, Houston, anywhere. And pretty much all cities are trashed. That's the point. The majority of the populations live in major cities. And they are descending into lawlessness, chaos, and just all around collapse. Oh, Tim was texting me. I told him about the video that got taken down that I just told you guys about, so that will show up in the video. Okay, let's see. If you walk through the streets of Los Angeles today, you'll find the homeless people have erected tents literally all over the city. Jeremiah Babe has demonstrated this over and over again in his excellent videos, and the footage that he captures during his visits at the core of Los Angeles just seems to keep getting worse over time. As conditions in Los Angeles deteriorate, it is fueling a dramatic rise in violent crime. The murder rate in Los Angeles is up 95% so far this year, and it's now the #1 political issue in the entire city. Further north, San Francisco officials are dealing with their worst drug epidemic ever. San Francisco has always had a big problem with drugs, but Dr. Christopher Colwell says that the widespread use of fentanyl has taken things to an entirely different level. Oh, it's not just these cities, by the way, Los Angeles, San Francisco. Fentanyl is incredibly prevalent in my area. I actually just had a childhood friend that died a few days ago from fentanyl use. Not cool at all whatsoever, but that is the point. I remember my grandfather saying years ago, I must have been 7 or 8, hanging out at my nana's house, and we were just sitting at the dinner table or watching TV or whatever, and he would say things like, you gotta find it kind of weird that all these drugs have been coming in for the past couple decades. And I remember him saying specifically, that's because when invading armies come over, it will be easier to take over a nation of addicts than it would if they were not. That stuck with me for so long that stuck with me. And I think about it all the time. And that's before I started learning about how the CIA brings the drugs in, and that's literally the point, to weaken the population. Absolutely. Our most immediate threat right now is the opioid epidemic and the trauma we are seeing. We are seeing increases I haven't seen in my career around dependency and overdoses, mostly involving fentanyl. We always had problems with opioids, specifically heroin, but fentanyl has changed the whole landscape of drugs. When we think of addicts, we tend to envision street people in our minds, but in San Francisco, a lot of people that are overdosing these days are respected professionals. Yeah, it's not just your idea of drug addicts and people like that. Oh no, it does not discriminate. That is something that does not discriminate whatsoever. You know how many actors, you know how many big-time businessmen, corporate lawyers, everybody who are addicted to drugs? There are a ton. A ton. It's not just the guy down the street that you can tell. There are some of the types of people, a physician, 2 nurses, a professional athlete, a drug dealer, and a lawyer who had nodded off in court, teenagers, specifically a 14 and 15-year-old, and a 7-year-old who got into a stash in her mother's purse. That's just horrible. That's just horrible. But I want to get to some more pressing matters, so I'm just going to kind of skim through this one. Okay, let's see. What makes things worse is that shoplifters in San Francisco face very light consequences if they are actually caught. And so at this point, they have become extremely brazen. And it talks about a video captured the moment a brazen robber filled a garbage bag with products at a San Francisco Walgreens and bicycled out of the store after no one tried to stop him. And just things like that. On the other side of the country, police in the Atlanta area are operating under new rules that restrict them from chasing criminals. This is infuriating many residents because now violent criminals can literally get away with just about anything if they just drive away fast enough. Pretty sure Atlanta was the city that said that they can no longer chase people. And that's literally the point. They're breaking down our society. This is the reset. This is literally part of the reset. I brought this up just to show that things are descending even more into chaos every single day. Every single day. And it is not good. But I want to get into more pressing matters, like I said. So let's move on. Okay, I wanted to bring this one up. What is case number 19, CV 2407, CAB AHG, and why should you be concerned? This is very concerning. This was sent to me by Frank. You guys know Frank. I always refer to him as the only other person in my entire area that is awake. Well, except for the people that I've met on here. But the only person that I talk to. I am receiving a call from the Bronx, New York, and it is probably a scam. I'm going to let it run. How annoying is this? Stop interrupting me. I'm busy. Thank you. Excuse me. Anyway, this is from businessanthropology.net. The AI organization has nailed their 26 thesis to the door of the District Court of California in the form of case number 19CV2407, CAB-AHG. This case names their defendants as Google, Facebook, Alphabet, Tesla, Neuralink, DeepMind, Cision PR, Newswire, along with Larry Page, Sergey Brin, Sundar Pichai, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and 29 other captains of industry, quote, end quote, for conspiring to use AI as a weapon of mass destruction and mass genocide against humanity. Oh yes. Oh yes, we are going to dig into this. You guys will be very surprised what you are about to hear. Business Anthropology team, under the leadership of Anthony Galima, has been on a quest to save humanity ever since putting together the pieces of what really is taking place within societies and the human species on a global scale during the situation and this Orwellian nightmare we are immersed within. This article is part 3 in our series and should be coupled with part 1 discussing Microsoft, cryptocurrencies, and nanotechnology, and part 2 discussing Situation V's 5G technology altering modification of, you can read that, and how we will be recognized by other machines as a biological computer. And you can see why I skipped part 1 and part 2, because these are not for YouTube. Not at all for YouTube. The 26 thesis below was directly copied from the AI organization's website. To find out details of financial, personal, and corrective behavioral demands, you can access the case in the federal court database here. Business Anthropology does not subscribe to all of the AI organization's viewpoints or findings, but believes it is important enough to showcase amongst our collective findings within this complex and largely unknown or misunderstood subject matter. We must immediately demand that our political representatives and journalists ask questions. The only way we can do so is if we inform and empower ourselves with information that must not be dismissed as fake news, conspiracy, or crazy. It's time to dig deeper and expose the truth before it is literally too late. Without regular citizens becoming aware, we are all collectively doomed. And that is a fact. And we are about to read this case number 19 CV 2407 CAB-AHG now. You guys are going to be, the word that I would use is flabbergasted. You will be flabbergasted by this information that you are about to hear me present to you. When I was reading it the first time, my mouth was literally jaw dropped the whole time, like to the floor, like a cartoon. Endangering and threatening all of the world's citizens and humanity by misusing and weaponizing artificial intelligence, quantum computing, robotics, G5 we'll call it, machines, smartphones, smart homes, smart cities, IoTs, which are Internet of Things, holograms, mixed reality, nanotechnology, cloning, I want to kind of say that, but I don't, but we'll go for it. Gene editing, cybernetics, bioengineering, and the creation of digital AI brain linked to Google search engine with the use and extraction of humanity's biometrics data, digital biometric codes including facial voice, health, organ, neural network, and body recognition technology, thus controlling humanity's thoughts, actions, biology, biometrics, brain, neural pathways, the human body's neural networks that reprograms all human beings through social engineering, and biodigital social programming without their consent, knowledge, understanding, or free will. Extracting humanity's digital footprints in breach of the Nuremberg Laws, FTC Act 15 USC, subsection 41 to 58, and engaging in irresponsible and unsafe research and developed artificial general intelligence or artificial super intelligence that could enslave or kill off humanity, or give power to the defendants to enslave humanity in numerous ways on the G5 and other developing networks. What I am reading to you is actual documentation, by the way. This is actual documentation. This might be too much truth for YouTube. It really might be. And if we get to the end of this and couple it with what I'm going to show you next, this video will be ripe for the picking, so you better download it. You better download it because I can already tell you that it will be taken down. But that is a risk I am willing to take because this is very important information. Okay. Number 2, negligence and complicity in persecution and genocide of millions in China per Articles 1, 2, 3, 4 of the Genocide Convention and 18 USCA, Section 1091, genocide not limited to democracy activists, Falun data practitioners, Christians, Uyghurs, I'm not sure how to say that. Really not sure how to say that. Tibetans, journalists, judges, lawyers, and academics inside of China. Transferring and providing to China, China's government, and its companies knowledge, data, capabilities, and technology to weaponize artificial intelligence, quantum computing, machines, robotics, G5, biometrics, cybernetics, bioengineering, IoTs, computer vision, and human tracking technology, and technology that can give China access to artificial general intelligence and artificial super intelligence that endangers the world and all of humanity, including AI weaponry for assassination in violation of breach of Arms Control and Disarmament Act 22 U.S.C. 2551 and Foreign Assistance Act of 1961 as amended, blah, 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 blah. Purposes for which military sales or leases by the United States are authorized, report to Congress, Arms Control and Disarmament Act of 1961, Atomic Energy Act of 1954, providing to China and Chinese companies AI, health data, biometric technology used for surveillance, tracking, hunting, quarantine, capture, arrest, torture, concentration camps, organ harvesting, and organ trafficking that contributed to the death of Chinese citizens, including Falun data practitioners. There's that word again. Uyghurs, I'll just say that. Democracy activists, Christians, Tibetans, judicial representatives, professors, journalists, and minority groups, not limited to any gender, race, political affiliation, faith, or persons residing in China. Same violation of fact numbers 2 and 3. They're literally breaking their own laws, if you hadn't noticed by now. The people that watch me all the time and others like me, you know, but the people that don't, if you hadn't noticed by now, they don't follow any of their own rules. Those laws are for us, anyway. Providing to China's government, their corporations and nefarious entities, facial recognition, voice recognition, body detection, skeleton detection, vital organ recognition, emotion detection, skin and health biometric, and other AI technology that led to persecution, torture, organ harvesting, death, and cremation of human beings in China, not limited to Uyghur, Falun, Dafa, Christian, Tibetan, democracy activists, judges, attorneys, common citizens, and other minority groups. Endangering the world by weaponizing China's AI capabilities, that is to be laid on the BRI, One Belt, One Road, linking Asia, Middle East, Africa, and Europe, endangering all of humanity. Same violation of facts, number 1, 2, and 3, misrepresenting to the world and deceiving the U.S. on Google's activities in China and their technology transfers that contributed to China's quantum AI advancements, surveillance, abuse, torture, concentration camps, and murder of its own citizens. Same violation of facts, number 1, 2, and 3. Providing health, biometric, financial, and social network of data of Americans and the world citizenry that is in the hands of the Chinese government, endangering the world and all its peoples on the G5 network. Creating an interconnected platform between Facebook, Google, Alphabet, all entities under Neuralink, and DeepMind that allows for a digital brain to connect to the internet. All digital and biodigital networks, human bodies, machines, robotics, IoTs, augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, holograms, and other technologies that can be used for surveillance to track, manipulate, control, social engineer, re-engineer, reprogram, brainwash, hunt, quarantine, threaten, arrest, commit cultural genocide, and kill human beings by machines, biodigital AI, digital AI, and robotics connected to the G5, G6, and other networks and corporate command centers. Now, so many people look up to this Elon Musk. They think that he is one of the greatest people in the whole world. And how he is getting behind this cryptocurrency. And he's doing all this stuff. And he wants people to reach their potential. And he doesn't have an agenda. But he's literally a huge part of the fourth industrial revolution as told to us by Klaus Schwab. Let's get a move on. Creating platforms that is on the verge of developing artificial general intelligence and the subsequent superintelligence that will be beyond the control of the human beings working at Neuralink, Alphabet, DeepMind, Google, Facebook, or governments. Yeah, these people are building things that they themselves will lose control over. They know this. They wrote it down. They know that they will lose control of this stuff. That's the point. Oh, man. In violation of Article 1, 2, 3, 4 of the Genocide Convention for weaponizing China's artificial intelligence, facial, voice, and other biometric technology that were used on Chinese citizens, not to exclude genetic experimentation of human beings in Chinese concentration camps, including hybrid human experiments within the concentration camps. Introducing, planning, promoting, and engaging in physical and cultural genocide to humanity by replacing their neural network operating systems with artificial intelligence and machines, merging humans with machines with the interconnection of the internet, internal tech experimentations of defendants, and consumer products promoted, provided, and transferred by the defendants to the public directly and indirectly. Again, I'm reminding you that this is actual documentation. This is actual case number documentation. It's 19 CV 2407, I believe. I'll try to put the link in the description when this video is done uploading. Reprogramming and social engineering humanity's thoughts and brain chemistry via AI algorithms on the internet, social media, apps, smartphones, IoTs, computers, wearable devices, implanted technology, virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, holograms, and alternate reality. Not informing and explaining to humanity that their brain chemistry is altered by replicating software as they engage with the defendant's products and services, nor that their thoughts and actions can be manipulated and controlled by smartphones, apps, and IoT in connection with the network's platforms, technologies, and initiatives Google, Alphabet, Facebook, Neuralink, DeepMind, and Tesla are providing and introducing to the public, in turn giving these tech giants complete control and influence over Americans and humanity. And it's literally right here. It's right here. When are you gonna wake up? When are you gonna wake up? I'm tired of doing this all by myself. With the people that I have on here, everybody else is asleep. And if you don't wake up right now, then you will remain a sheep. You guys like my made-up song? Just being dumb. Anyway, weaponizing AI by utilizing humanity's biometric and social media data, misusing the technology by controlling the human race and its thoughts through social engineering and biodigital social programming by using people's biometric systems through Google and Facebook's ecosystems, coding, algorithm unfairness, with the use of social media data, their emotions, weaponization of the internet, smartphones, IoTs, and computers, thus controlling human thoughts and humanity at a global scale, against their free will and knowledge. Not informing the public that their dependency on smartphones is due to frequencies in artificial intelligence software emitting from the AI systems and device that is connecting to the neural networks of humans, creating a symbiotic process, making them a cyborg, dependent, reliant, controlled, and programmed by the products and services provided by Google, Facebook, Alphabet, DeepMind, Tesla, and Neuralink. In essence, putting the entire human race in a state of pet and owner relationship via their biometrics, biology, and digital selves, neural network operating systems, the owner being the artificial narrow intelligence, other AI forms provided by the defendant's companies, organizations, and personal initiatives within their companies, and machine software operating inside the biometric systems of human beings. Negligence in algorithm fairness that allows hate speech, misinformation, and slander to cast doubt on Google search engines against people's efforts to notify and inform the world's people that millions have been subject to organ trafficking, organ harvesting, concentration camps, torture, and abuse, that the risk of artificial intelligence is multifaceted and enormous. Writing code and creating algorithms that has been and is currently engaging in cultural genocide, including introduction of cybernetics, robotics, and creating an ecosystem that allows for bestiality to exist and be forefront on Google search engines, affecting societies and youth's biometric system after viewing the videos and articles via their smartphones and computers, influencing their thoughts through biometric systems, paving the next generation to degenerate and accept this type of behavior with the introduction and experimentation of bioengineering and cybernetics. Research and development conducted by Alphabet, Facebook, Google, DeepMind, Neuralink, and other ventures in Silicon Valley have created algorithms and coding that supports, promotes, and achieves brainwashing of humanity through social engineering and biodigital social programming that endangers the human race in its entirety via the interconnection of their platforms, social media, and technology distributed in physical and digital format to society. This is a lot of reading, guys. Writing code and having algorithms that influence liberals and conservatives to exponentially increase their hate for each other via their biometric systems and emotions while attached to their smartphones, IoT apps, digital media, Google, Facebook, and other interconnected platforms. Okay. This proves writing code, having algorithms that influence liberals and conservatives to exponentially increase their hate for each other via their biometric systems and emotions while attached to smartphones and everything else. What is going on? Causing harm to the nation and the world and endangering humanity at the geopolitical level, with nation-state leaders undergoing social engineering and biodigital social programming and control by their platforms to ignore human rights atrocities in China and around the world stemming from the defendants' algorithm misuse and AI technologies, implicating world leaders and their citizens to be charged under Article 2, 3, and 4 of the Genocide Conventions. This includes Canadian Prime Minister, the majority of European leaders, leadership at the United Nations, the media, press, reporters, and others who have and are still censoring awareness for human rights violations in China or working against it. Writing code and algorithms that controls reporters, media, and the press's thoughts and actions beyond the normal manipulation they receive from special interest groups, producers, or friends who may manipulate them, other reporters, in their covered content, thus weaponizing the media for Google's development against the media's free will and knowledge. Negligence on Google and Facebook's algorithm unfairness caused liberals and conservatives to conflict and fight each other beyond the reasonable norm, affecting their thoughts and emotions via their biometric systems, being controlled and enhanced by artificial narrow intelligence systems inside the smartphones and apps partially formed by bias and hateful content that created division and undue hate among Americans and the people of the world. Division caused by misuse and negligence of algorithms in Facebook, Google, hindered and delayed the U.S. administration's efforts to pressure China in time to save more people from concentration camps, death, and cremation. In addition to national security concerns that impacts Americans and world citizenry, this is not limited to the Trump administration, rather affected the Obama and Bush administrations as well. So not only Trump's, but Obama and Bush administrations as well. And, of course, now Joe Biden's administration. Because it doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter who is in charge. It doesn't matter who or what government entity or anything is in charge, because this is the new world government. This right here is their world government. Google hurt America and China for 2 decades at geopolitical level. Google is guilty of Article 2, 3, and 4 of the Genocide Convention, in addition to complicity. Masking posts and articles by the AI organization meant to bring awareness to human rights atrocities in China on Facebook's platform. Masking content created by Cyrus A. Parsa meant to save people from dangers pertaining to human rights violations, interlinked with artificial intelligence. Banning the book AI, Trump, China, and the Weaponization of Robotics and 5G for advertisement and masking posts to people working on behalf of the AI organization. So there was apparently a book banned that was called AI, Trump, China, and the Weaponization of Robotics with 5G. Remember, the first thing that they did pretty much during this entire situation is pass the 5G and Beyond Act of 2020? Yeah, but the Trump supporters are still like, man, he's coming back, and he's going to save us. What, by doing stuff like this? Making posts of artificial intelligence dangerous to humanity book on Facebook platforms and masking other posts from AI organization written by Cyrus A. Parsa. These posts related to China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Iran, big tech, Google, 5G, robotics, drones, and biometrics. Threats to and enslavement of humanity. Releasing the mask recently after coming under pressure and scrutiny, hiring Chinese who committed espionage and attacked American companies, including the AI organization Cyrus A. Parsa, as well as associates and victims of persecution. Writing code and sustaining algorithms that propagate an extreme amount of pornography, violent pornography, and insinuation of rape and prostitution that degenerates females, young girls, altering humanity thoughts and family-based concepts of traditional health-based ethics via their biometric systems, hence contributing to rape, sex, and human trafficking and broken families. Man, this thing does all of it. Whatever bond was left in the family unit is now severed. The family has been completely destroyed. People say that and they're just like, yeah, no. But no, the family literally has been destroyed. Developing code, algorithms, and ecosystems that reprogrammed a generation of people's biometric structure and brain chemistry to be digitally controlled by Google and every other tech industry with similar platforms that operate on varying types of artificial intelligence, including artificial narrow intelligence. Developing code, algorithms, and ecosystems that created a secondary digital brain inside the brains of AI scientists to be subservient, controlled, and programmed to create, sustain, promote, and grow Google, Alphabet's, Facebook's, and other tech giants' platforms. Elon Musk has also confirmed the AI organization's findings that humans can have a secondary digital brain formed via their neural networks, developing code, algorithms, and ecosystems that create a secondary digital brain inside the brains of all human beings that can prevent a person from recognizing that they are being controlled and bypassing any biological resistance to AI control or human body's innate capability to resist the formation of a symbiotic and parasitical relationships with AI software and cybernetic hardware via the rational thinking structure in their brain. So basically, this is saying that people are unaware. They don't know that they don't know that they don't know that they are being controlled and influenced in every single way, shape, and form. This video is going to get taken down, guys, so if you made it this far, you might want to download it, please. And you know the drill. If it gets taken down, I'll get suspended for 2 weeks, and it will be up on Odyssey. Moving on. Not informing consumers that part of the defendant's goals for AGI and ASP has religious goals that could be dangerous to all of humanity, including attempts to retrieve or ask AGI about the inner working of the simulation. What, when, how, by whom the simulation was formed, and what is outside it. Neuralink, Google, Alphabet, Facebook, Tesla, and DeepMind have not registered as religious institution, yet they are engaging in religion under the umbrella of science. In fact, they have turned their companies into religious institutions with final aim goals identical to most religions. The defendant and their companies are attempting to treat their technological development as God, taking all of humanity's biometrics data and connecting to their quantum, robotic, and machine-based AI technology, and upload their digital selves into other bodies, networks, or machines mimicking the beliefs of the spirit or soul. In fact, Elon Musk stated in an interview that he wants to develop AI to a point that it could give him the answers to the simulation. Elon Musk is agreeable to the risk that an AGI or artificial superintelligence can go rogue, killing off humanity or be hacked. Yet, as smart as he is, he doesn't understand that the computing technology AGI and ASI would not go beyond the level of atoms to observe more microscopic particles at its plane. Hence, any answers to his sought questions, the simulation is limited. In the endeavor of an AGI or ASI is putting humankind at risk, there's an alternative way to achieve his answers that is 100% safe and does not involve giving the power to machine artificial intelligence. Defendants have created AI systems that can take in humanity's facial, voice, and other biometric information and decode whether they are resistant to AI, subject to its control, atheist, or have a faith. This technology can enable AI or any entity using AI to track, profile, hunt, and kill targets it deems resistant to its control or resistant to AI. This can be done with drones, machines, robotics, or poison delivery systems such as microbiota terrorism. Guys, if you go against this, or it senses that you go against it, or even has an inkling that you go against it, it will take you out. If you believe in God, it will take you out. This is literally unlike anything the world has ever seen before. Look at all this. Look at that. Look at all that reading we just did. That's damn near the majority of the video, but it's very important. Very important. Look at all that. I will try to leave a link to this in the description, but this video will get taken down. I'm pretty confident of that. Let's move on to something else. But first, this is literally worse than anything in the world, anything that has ever been thought of. And this all goes back to the original lie that man can become as God. These people want to be gods, and this AI will allow them for a certain point of time, up to the point where the AI takes over them. Scary stuff. Moving on. Okay, so this was part of the G7 meeting or whatever they had there, where all of the snakes like to get together and discuss how they are going to, well, rule over us. G7 2021-2030 Nature Compact. So already you're thinking Agenda 2030. This is what the compact states, okay? This is what they pledge themselves to, okay? We, the G7 leaders, commit to the global mission to halt and reverse biodiversity loss by 2030. We will act now, building on the G7 Met's Charter on biodiversity and the leaders' pledge for nature, championing their delivery to help set the necessary trajectory for nature to 2030. Through this compact, we commit to supporting global consensus and to taking bold action for delivery of ambitious outcomes for nature in 2021 at the Convention on Biological Diversity, COP15 in Kunming, and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC COP26 in Glasgow in particular. Climate change is one key driver of biodiversity loss, and protecting, conserving, and restoring biodiversity is crucial to addressing climate change. So far, that means that protecting, conserving, and restoring, as in get your ass off the land and into these mega-controlled cities. New World Order, full speed ahead. Ahead of COP15 and COP26, as we embark on this pivotal decade, we commit, they call it a pivotal decade. We commit to tackle these interdependent and mutually reinforcing crises in an integrated manner, thereby contributing to the achievement of sustainable development goals and a green, inclusive, and resilient recovery from the situation. Global system-wide change is required. Our world must not only become net zero, but also nature positive, for the benefit of both people and the planet, with a focus on promoting sustainable and inclusive development. Nature, and the biodiversity that underpins it, ultimately sustains our economies and livelihoods and well-being. Our decisions must take into account the true value of the goods and services we derive from it. The lives and livelihoods of today's youth and future generations rely on this. As advanced economies and major consumers within global supply chains and markets, we recognize our unique role and knowledge the negative and unsustainable impact our economic activity can have on nature and wildlife abroad, as well as at home. Therefore, we commit to working collaboratively with partners and stakeholders. There's that word again, stakeholder capitalism, as in fascism, to drive global system change that works for all, prioritizing the inclusion of indigenous peoples as well as local communities in code design, decision-making, and implementation, and recognizing the interest of vulnerable and marginalized groups, including people living in poverty, women and girls, people with disabilities, and youth, i.e., world government. It's all about world government. Nothing else. Nothing else. Ever. Ever. And anytime you come across something, all you have to do is ask one question. How would this benefit and or lead to one world government? And it all makes sense. Considering the impact of situation on public health, the economy, food systems, and nature, we recognize the mission to tackle biodiversity loss is inherently connected with those to protect human, wildlife, and animal health and to prevent future situations. Therefore, we endorse the work of the G7 One Health Working Group. There you go. One Health Working Group. What name are they going to give it next week? And will join on a voluntary basis. Yeah. The International Zoonoses Community of Experts, established under the UK presidency. We also welcome the newly created One Health High-Level Expert Panel. Throughout the next decade, we will each mobilize on a whole of government, notice how it's capitalized, like God, basis to halt and reverse biodiversity loss with action across 4 core pillars: transition, investment, conservation, accountability. Accountability. Pillar 1, leading the transition to sustainable and legal use of natural resources. We will shift incentives and use all appropriate levers to address unsustainable and illegal activities negatively impacting nature. As in, all they have to do if you're doing something is say, that's unsustainable and illegal and negatively impacts nature. That's it. That's it. You go outside and pick a flower for your wife because you love her. Done. That's unsustainable and illegal and negatively impacts nature. Gone. Couple that with everything else that they can say about you to arrest you and whatever. That's all this is. Tackling deforestation, including by supporting sustainable supply chains and demonstrating clear domestic action. We welcome the commitment of trade ministers to work with the environment and other ministries to share best practice and consider any appropriate domestic actions, including, if appropriate, development of due diligence requirements to support sustainable supply chains that decouple agricultural production from deforestation and forest degradation, including from illegal land conversion. We tasked these ministries to jointly hold an initial meeting ahead of COP26 later this year. This action will complement our wider international collaboration, including enhanced cooperation with producer countries. As in their vision for world government. Can nobody see this? Are we crazy? I don't think so. I don't think we've ever been saner. More sane, you could say. Participating in and supporting the COP26 Forest, Agriculture, and Commodities Trade Dialogue, we will champion the collaborative effort between consumer and producer countries to advance global and regional sustainable supply chains, protecting, conserving, and sustainably managing forests and other ecosystems while promoting sustainable trade and development. Acknowledging the harmful effect of some subsidies on the environment and need to reform policies that recognize negative impacts on nature, we commit to lead by example by reviewing relevant domestic policies as soon as possible. According to national circumstances, we will take action as appropriate to develop replacements that are nature positive. Globally, we will work to accelerate an inclusive transition to sustainable and climate resilient agriculture, including through a COP26 policy dialogue on accelerating transition to sustainable agriculture where relevant. They don't care about nature. They don't care about... These people are the ones who caused the deforestation. These people are the ones that own the corporations that ruined everything. They poisoned the water. They destroyed everything in their quest to take absolute power. All who gain power are afraid to lose it. All. Not most, not some, all who gain power are afraid to lose it. Stepping up our efforts at home and overseas to counter crimes that affect the environment, we will recognize and tackle illicit threats to nature such as the illegal wildlife trade, as serious organized crimes, including intensifying efforts to combat money laundering of the criminal proceeds of these crimes. With the support of finance ministers, we are implementing and strengthening registries of accompanying beneficial ownership information to provide better access to information for law enforcement agencies and competent authorities in tackling illicit finance, also noting the benefits of making beneficial ownership information public where possible. Good one. It's such a good one. Building on progress being made on this issue by the relevant ministers, we tasked them to respond as appropriate to the Financial Action Task Force, propose actions to identify, assess, and address money laundering risks relating to IWT, reporting on progress at the Interior Ministerial in September. We will engage with civil society and the private sector ahead of this to maximize the creativity and ambition of these groups in tackling these challenges. How come the solution for everything is tighter, top-down government control? Why? Exactly. Addressing the adverse impact of human activity, such as litter and unsustainable fishing practices on the marine environment. Building on the Osaka Blue Ocean vision, we will accelerate action to tackle increasing levels of plastic pollution in the ocean from all sources, land and marine, including by working through the UN Environment Assembly on the options including strengthening and existing instruments and political new global agreement Potential new global agreement or other instrument to address marine plastic litter, including UNEA 5. We will also work with or support the Global Ghost Gear Initiative. We recognize the importance of international action to deter and end illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, including through support to developing countries, and we commit to concluding ongoing WTO negotiations as swiftly as possible to prohibit certain harmful fishery subsidies that contribute to overfishing, overcapacity, and IUU fishing. Oh, man. Pillar 2, investing in nature and driving a nature-positive economy. We will work to dramatically increase investment in nature from all sources and to ensure nature is accounted for and mainstreamed in economic and financial decision-making. Tasking our finance and other relevant ministries to work together to identify ways to account for nature in economic and financial planning and decision-making. We encourage other countries and non-state actors to follow suit and consider the footprint of economic activity on biodiversity. We welcome the Dasgupta review on the economics of biodiversity and the related OECD policy guide on biodiversity. We will draw on their findings as appropriate, identifying actions those outlined below. Working intensively toward increasing finance for nature from all sources throughout the next 5 years. In particular, we commit to increase our finance contributions for nature-based solutions through 2025. 2025. Recognizing the multiple benefits investing in nature brings, we will maximize the synergies of climate and biodiversity finance and promote funding that has co-benefits for climate and nature. Working to ensure that our international development and assistance does no harm to nature and delivers positive outcomes overall for people, climate, and nature. Yeah, positive. We don't want to hurt nature, even though we've been doing that for so long. We don't want to hurt anything. No, they want to rule over you, and this is just another way to do it. I'm going to read a little bit more, guys, because my phone is actually going to die, if you can't see up there in the corner. But I will finish this one up next video. Let me see how far we can go down. Oh, here we go. Encouraging all multilateral development banks, international finance institutions, and development finance institutions to embed nature into their analysis, policy, dialogue, and operations. We call on MDBs and DFIs to increase and mobilize finance for nature, and MDBs to sign a joint statement on nature ahead of COP26 as appropriate. This will complement the MDB efforts to align with Paris Agreement goals. Oh yes, the Paris Climate Agreement. Of the New World Order, they don't put all of their eggs in one basket. They put a lot of their eggs into different baskets, hoping that one works. So we'll read down through Pillar 3 on this one, and then we'll continue in the next video. Working with finance industry and business leaders, including through formal and informal partnerships such as the Terra Carta and the Sustainable Markets Initiative instigated by HRH, Prince of Wales, and the One Planet Summit coalitions. One Planet Summit. Coalitions on sustainable finance to drive nature positive shift by fully investing in natural capital and embedding consideration of nature-related risk. We look to forward the establishment of the task force on nature-related financial disclosures and its recommendations. Oh my. Pillar 3. Protecting, conserving, and restoring nature, including through ambitious global targets. We will support and drive the protection, conservation, and restoration of ecosystem critical to halt and reverse biodiversity loss and environmental degradation and to tackle climate change. Supporting new global targets to conserve or protect at least 30% of global land and at least 30% of global ocean by 2030 as critical foundation for the conservation and restoration efforts required this decade. We will advocate for improved quality, effectiveness, and connectivity of protected areas and other effective area-based conservation measures, and recognize indigenous peoples as well as local communities as full partners in the implementation of these targets. We will lead by example, effectively conserving or protecting at least the same percentage of our national land, including terrestrial and inland waters, coastal and marine areas by 2030. According to national circumstances and approaches, including where appropriate with legislation inadequate, resourcing, and enforcement to drive delivery. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Always legislation and enforcement. Supporting agreement and delivery of targets to prevent the loss, fragmentation, and degradation of ecosystems, and to restore significant areas of degraded and converted ecosystems in support of the UN Decade on Ecosystems Restoration. We support ambitious initiatives driving delivery of these goals. For example, the Great Green Wall for the Sahara and the Sahel. We also reaffirm our commitment to strive and end the loss of natural forest by 2030, as per our commitment in the 2014 New York Declaration on Forest and Sustainable Development Goal number 15, and recognize the value of blue carbon ecosystems. Working together to agree and meet targets to increase abundance of species populations worldwide, significantly reduce overall species extinction risk, and eventually stop human-induced extinctions. Driving increased global cooperation on the ocean, recognizing that 2/3 is outside of national jurisdiction in support of increased ocean protection and conservation. This decade, we will work to conclude the negotiation of a new and ambitious international legally binding instrument under the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea and on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction, if possible, by the end of 2021. We also fully support the commitment of the Commission for Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Resources to develop a representative system of marine protected areas in the convention area in the Southern Ocean based on the best available scientific evidence, and the proposals to establish new MPAs in East Antarctica, in the Weddell Sea, and the Antarctic Peninsula. Supporting the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, endorsing the G7 Ocean Decade Navigation Plan to drive developments in transformational ocean science to protect and further our sustainable relationship with the ocean. As part of this work, we will convene scientific and policy experts to discuss the carbon absorption function of the ocean, furthering targeted and effective ocean action. Oh, no. They literally want to rule over everybody. Stupid thing went out. They literally want to rule over all of us by using this. We will get into... Actually... Oh, it's done right after this. We'll just read this. Pillar 4, prioritizing accountability and implementation of commitments for nature. We will hold ourselves to account for taking domestic and global action for nature. Implementing the compact, we will embed its commitments in national plans as relevant, raise ambition wherever possible, and hold ourselves to account for delivering effective action integrated with that to support climate change mitigation and adaptation. Reviewing our progress against the compact regularly through existing G7 mechanisms, including G7 Leaders Summit in 5 years, when we will review options to ratchet up our action and ambition as needed to ensure delivery of our 2030 vision. Oh yes, their 2030 vision. Driving strengthened accountability and implementation mechanisms of all multilateral environmental agreements to which we are parties, in particular those G7 members party to the CBD will champion as part of an ambitious post-2020 global biodiversity framework. Post-2020, huh? Oh, what happened in 2020? Oh, yeah, that's right. Jeez. The production of ambitious and strengthened national plans from all parties, more transparent metrics and success indicators, and more robust monitoring and reporting. With the adoption of this compact, we commit to take strong and integrated global action on nature and climate, working alongside political leaders and other actors to drive ambitious outcomes for nature in 2021 at the CBD COP15, UN FCCC COP26, and the UN Ocean Conference, as well as the UN Environment Assembly and the UN Convention on Combating Desertification 2022. We will continue to increase our efforts throughout this critical decade. Oh yes, the critical decade in which they must implement their world government. Oh, I don't have much more to say. I really don't. Time is short, guys. They're really ramping this up. And it is Oh, I don't even know what to say about it. I don't even know what to say about it. I'm going to set up the live stream for Saturday night probably. See what's going on and see if we can get it done. Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.